The Cleveland Cavaliers select Evan Mobley.
Has been a historical franchise in this league for years.
We have a trade to announce. The Boston Celtics select Jason Tatum.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the NBA Front Office Show. And I guess we should say Happy New Year. Keith, 2022, just hours away as of this recording.
Yeah, absolutely. Less than a half a day away here on the East Coast where I am. So we're almost there. It's time to flip the page and let's hope for a better 2022 for both of our teams than 2021 finished up. So that would be that would make this season far more enjoyable. But it's still been a fun season anyway. And your team, we got a trade to break down in a little bit more detail than we did yesterday when we were doing it on the fly as it broke as we were just about to wrap up the show.
Yeah, we do. And I mean, Rajon Rondo being sent to the Cleveland Cavaliers, which we spent a little chunk of yesterday's show discussing who the Cavs could potentially target, not knowing at the moment that it was, in fact, the player on my team, the Lakers. He's going to be filling in for Ricky Rubio for the time being. We did speculate that this might not be the only move that they make. It's possible they still go and trade for another high-caliber guard in order to eat those minutes because, again, even the Lakers were not expecting Rajon Rondo to be an every-night player, so who knows whether or not the Cavs will see him in that light. But for now, he's a stopgap for them, and we found out, of course, that the deal is for Denzel Valentine, who the Lakers intend to waive his non-guaranteed contract. Nothing confirmed at this point, but we believe, we'd have to imagine, they're doing this so they can keep Stanley Johnson for the remainder of the season.
Yeah, my guess is just reading through the reports and the like, this trade will happen today. I think, are the Lakers off today?
No, they play tonight. In fact,
I guess it doesn't matter, right? Rondo
tonight,
play
Keith,
anyway.
When the clock, my wife is not thrilled. When the clock strikes midnight tonight, I will most likely either be mid post-game show or editing the post-game show.
That is right. I saw that. It runs right up again against the clock here. Yeah, it's weird. Normally, all the games are clear even by midnight East Coast time. They usually start all early, but yeah, hey, basketball ruining lives for family men everywhere.
That's right.
But yeah, so my guess is this trade happens today. It doesn't really impact the Lakers because Rondo wasn't going to play for them anyway. So it's not like they'll be down an additional player. So this trade will go through today. They'll likely waive Denzel Valentine today because no reason to eat even another day's more salary than you need to. And then Stanley Johnson, my guess is, assuming it's Stanley Johnson, like you said, we don't have any confirmation of that, whether it's him or Darren Collison or somebody else, they'll likely let those 10 days play out and then they'll sign them at the end. Because right now, because they're on those hardship 10 days, there's no cost other than actual salary. There's no tax hit, no cap hit. So, but once they do then sign whoever it is, again, we think it'll be Stanley Johnson. Then that converts to a standard contract and the cap and tax hit will be applied to the Lakers books. So, yeah, from their side, that's my guess of what we'll see here. Order of operations. We thought they might not take anybody back, but the Cavs are kind of tight to the tax line themselves. And being a team that's ascending but not quite there, not assured of being any kind of contender or anything like that beyond a playoff team, they don't probably want to risk going into the tax. And my guess is part of what their goal here was, all right, if we make another move later, we don't want to go into the tax. So they're after this trade, they'll be about 3.3 million under the tax line. Whereas if they just ate the salary themselves, they would have been somewhere in the 2 million-ish range.
So this just gives them a little bit more rope to play with there in terms of staying under the tax. From the Lakers side of things, there is some confusion. I've had a few people messaging me on Twitter asking how do the financials break down for the Lakers in this situation compared to had they just, say, waived a player. I've had a lot of Lakers fans who said, well, why didn't they just waive DeAndre Jordan or waive Kent Bazemore or someone like that? Why trade Rondo? And I guess before we even get into the numbers, Adrian Wojnarowski also reported that Rondo was on board with this trade. This wasn't like the Lakers just told him, hey, we're trading you to Cleveland. My sense of it is they gave him the option, said, hey, this option is out there. And Rondo said, yes, I'm interested in something like that. probably because he would like to see a few more minutes. The Cavs in a different situation too, trying to build themselves up as that next team in the Eastern Conference, where maybe Rondo's veteran mentorship can make an even bigger impact. So again, that's a factor in this too.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you're absolutely right. I think Rondo knows he's going to play a very minimal role on the court with the Lakers the rest of the way. And even though there's, a massive importance that everyone has talked about that he brings to the locker room and all those kind of things, he still wants to play, right? He still sees himself as somebody who can be a productive NBA player. So, yeah, he wants to go out. And, the reality is it's nice to see a downtrodden franchise trading off these guys to help an up-and-coming franchise that's a true playoff contender get better. So, I mean, good on the Lakers for recognizing it's time to start the fire sale and start moving all these pieces.
That's how we're going to finish 2021, Keith. Really, that's how we're going to finish this year.
Well, we're probably both going to finish 2021 with a disappointing loss that leaves everybody angry.
Don't put that on me. Realistic. I hope not.
No, we're both. You know what? We're closing out the year. I'm going on record right now. The Celtics are going to beat the Suns today, just because it will add to the absolute utter confusion of this Boston Celtics season, and it would leave everybody saying like, I don't know what to make of this mess of a team as the calendar year changes over. So I'm going on record. I haven't even looked. That's how busy I've been this morning. Who are the Lakers playing tonight?
They've got the Blazers.
All right, they're going to win too. So we're leaving 2021 with 2 wins.
Now hold up. They are tonight. They're wearing their City Edition uniforms, which most believe are cursed. They are 0-4 in those uniforms and have an average margin of loss of 18.5 points.
Reversing it tonight.
So we'll see. We'll see if they can reverse that.
Come on, it's Portland with a whole bunch of guys out, and what's LeBron's averaging close to 40 points per game over the last week or so. He might go for 50 tonight in a half against that Portland non-defense that they play. Anyway, back to this trade. Yeah. So here's what happens with the contracts. In the Lakers case, I fully understand where people are saying, why not waive Bazemore? Why not waive Jordan? They may not have as much importance, even just as locker room vets as Rondo had to the team. And I've even seen why did they not trade one of them? Well, the reality is nobody wants them. The Cavs wanted Rondo because he fills a immediate need for them as a point guard on their roster. So you waive any of those guys, though, what happens is you eat the full cap and tax hit on that salary. And if you waive a player who has the 1 year veteran minimum that's charged at only the 2 year, if you waive them before the season is out, you get hit with the full charge on that. So in the case of those 3 guys, I think Bazemore's a 10-year veteran guy. I mean, maybe not. I know for certain.
I think you're right. I'll double check. If he's not, he's a 9-year. If he's not 10, but I'll double check while you're talking.
About a $2.5 million hit. You're actually going to eat on that. So that's going to be big, and that becomes a challenge point for you. So you're going to sit there and have to eat that big hit. With this, now what they're doing is by getting Valentine in, you waive him, you're gonna eat a far lower cap hit. So you're actually gonna save quite a bit. He's made it's probably about $850,000. If I had to guess, I'm doing math on the fly here. With Valentine, so it'll be about an $850,000 cap hit, presuming he's waived today. Tax wise, in terms of the tax hit, what goes on the sheet is $850K or whatever it is Valentine's made. But the Lakers, because of their tax position, are about I want to say it's about $375 per dollar over, because they're so far over the tax, because they're over 20 million into the tax. So what happens there is that's 3 times that. So that's about a $2.4 million hit versus what it would have been about a 5 point something million dollar hit on the other had you just waive somebody else. So that's why you do it this way with that. And again, we thought yesterday they might not take any salary back, just then you just avoid everything entirely. But my guess was the Cavs were like, we can't put ourselves that much closer to the tax, can you just take something on? So I have seen some people saying Denzel Valentine's shooting 40% from three this year. Why aren't the Lakers just keeping him? He's not, it's on 44 attempts. Like, don't be fooled by, what's happened in a very small sample size. He doesn't give them the size on the wing that they're really looking for. They want somebody who's more of a 3-4 size guy. They don't need another guy who's a 2 that can masquerade as a 3. They've got those in spades.
And this is Kent Bazemore's 10th year. He's currently in his 10th year right now.
Yeah, so that's about a $2.5 million actual salary then, which is what it would go up to, which is what the proration would be based off of. But in the case of Bazemore, Jordan, and Rondo, they're all on fully guaranteed deals.
Yeah.
So it would bump all the way up. So it becomes a real challenge to waive those guys. And that's how you get to about a 3-something-ish million, probably somewhere between 3.1 and 3.3 million difference in the tax hit by doing it this way versus just waiving a player and then signing someone into that open spot.
Yeah, and had you just waived that player, again, in terms of total committed to, again, if we think about just in terms of roster spots, in terms of total committed to that roster spot, when you add in the luxury tax, paying both the player that's going out and the player that would be coming in, Keith, we did the math the other day, it would have been close to about $20 million committed to that one roster spot when you add in the luxury tax. And that's a lot. That's a lot to spend. So by trading that player away and offloading that salary without having to just eat the salary, it makes a major difference.
Yeah, because what's going to happen here is when they sign whoever they sign, presuming it is a 10-year veteran guy, or not a 10-year, more than a 2-year veteran guy, that player is going to come in, and what you're going to end up doing is they're only going to be charged at the 2-year veteran minimum. But what will happen is it's likely to push the Lakers up over 25 million above the luxury tax line. And then what happens from that point forward is that raises you to, I believe it's $4.25 per dollar over the tax line that you pay. So this is when you hear things, the team this is most often quoted about is the Golden State Warriors, that they're paying 89, 90 million in luxury tax, and signing a one veteran minimum contract costs them, 20 or 30 million dollars. This is why, because it pushes you up. And it's 3 times the amount of whatever the what's being charged on the tax, or in this case, it'd be 4 times whatever's charged on the tax. So it starts to add up very, very quickly. The good news is luxury tax bills aren't done until the end of the season. So if the Lakers, if it's really that big of a concern, they can always do a salary clearing move. But my guess is what they're doing is they're being smart and saying, why eat more money than we have to? Knowing they may want to make another deal or two later that may take on more money. And you may still see them waive Bazemore or Jordan during buyout season to get a more helpful player. So why take on money now if you don't need to later? Well, plus, those guys are good salary ballast if you need to throw them into a trade.
And that's the other piece here too, right? A lot of people are saying, well, why didn't you just trade DJ to the DeAndre Jordan to the Cavs, or trade Bazemore to the Cavs, or whatever? Well, first of all, the Cavs didn't need those guys. But in order to get a team to take on with those guys, you're probably going to have to give up something. You're going to have to give a second-round pick or something like that. Whereas with Rondo, the Cavs had an actual need for him, so they're willing to just take him and not ask the Lakers to pay something in exchange for freeing up that roster spot for them. They are winding up sending back Denzel Valentine, but again, that's why. So now you were able to maintain an asset, whether it's a second-round pick or whatever you would have had to give, so that you can use that in a future move down the road.
It's absolutely, you're spot on with it, man. You don't want to be in a position where you're wasting any kind of assets if you don't have to. So this is just a thing here, and this is it's big because it's the Lakers and all the money that's involved. It's big because the Cavs are a good team and need a player, but it's not, this is not like all of a sudden, oh man, I joked about the Lakers starting the fire sale. Clearly that's not what happened here. And I also don't think that this does anything as far as lifting the Cavs to, any better of a contender than they already were. He's not as good as Rubio is, and certainly not as good as Rubio was playing for Cleveland. But more importantly, like we said, this was a very minor addition to the Cavs and does not take them out of the running to do a bigger trade later. We were speculating yesterday. We both, I think, maybe I'm putting words in your mouth. Tell me if I am. We think Karis LeVert makes a lot of sense for this team. They can still go do a Karis LeVert trade. This doesn't change anything there. It's not, so then Rondo becomes your backup or third point guard and off you go. So this is not going to be a something that's going to preclude the Cavs from making any other kind of acquisitions if they want to.
All right. I think that about wraps up the talk on the Cavs and Rondo and this move and how it makes sense for both sides.
We've now done 3 shows. 3 shows on a minor trade, but hey, that's what we do.
That's what we do. There was some mystery in terms of who exactly would be involved. Why is it being done this way? Why this player instead of that player? So I'm glad that we were able to go in detail on that. We do need to get into some other.
One last thing.
Oh yeah.
I'm sorry.
No.
Both sides will create small trade exceptions. Yes. Cavs create one for the guaranteed amount for Valentine, which I'm trying to. Yeah,
it's like 800,000 or something.
It's just under 850,000. It's about 847,000. That's what will hit the Lakers. That's what's the guaranteed amount. So. But again, it's going to change it slightly. And then the Lakers will create about a $1.7 million trade exception. Neither will end up being used. Highly unlikely.
Right. All right, let's talk about some of the hardship contracts that are coming in before you have to run over to the Celtics game, which one of the nice things about New Year's Eve, you get early games. So we get games during the afternoon here, which is nice. But you've got, should we just run through them? There's not a lot that we really need to dive into. So.
No, yeah. I mean, we can run through the latest ones here. Let me pull up my list so I have them.
I've got
we'll cover kind of some of the bigger names that people may recognize. Jordan Bell going to the Chicago Bulls. Mm-hmm. That one is funny because remember the Bulls traded that pick.
That's right.
And
that was like a big deal. People were saying, "What are you doing? He's going to be good."
Yeah. So that one's kind of funny. Jalen Horde, he's been around for a couple years now, bounced on the back end of rosters. He joined the Thunder. Dakota Mathias, a shooter who was with the Sixers for part of last season, he's going to join the Grizzlies. Nick Stauskas is actually going to get back in. His prior time he was going to join the Toronto Raptors. I believe he contracted COVID and they didn't complete that signing. He's going to actually join the Miami Heat along with Miami Heat legend Mario Chalmers. Going to get back in the league. There. And then Brandon Goodwin, who's been around for a little while. He's going to come in to give the Cavs some point guard depth on a hardship because right now it's kind of Kevin Pangos and nobody until Rondo gets there. And we don't know when Rondo will be ready to play.
He's in protocols right now.
Still in the protocols himself. And then one other, this may not be a super recognizable name, but I want to call it out because it's kind of a cool story. Jaime, I believe I'm going to pronounce this correctly, Echenike, signed with the Washington Wizards, first ever Colombian-born player to appear in an NBA game as he made his debut last night. So that's kind of neat. Just another international player joining the NBA. So kind of a cool story there.
And I mean, I guess minor coincidence, but we just watched Encanto with our 5-year-old.
We watched that too. I really liked it.
Yeah, that was pretty good and set in Colombia.
Yep, correct. Little bit of sad news too to end the year here. Boston Celtics legend Sam Jones passed away at some point this morning at the age of 88 of natural causes is what the team spokesman shared. Jones was a 10-time NBA champion with the Celtics, was a big part of those Bill Russell teams. He earned the nickname Mr. Clutch. Because he upped his play so much in the postseason. He was one of the guys who was like the master of the bank shot. Absolutely just knocked it in. His number 24 is retired. Also one of the only a handful of players. He was part of the 25th, 50th, and 75th anniversary teams for the NBA. He's a Hall of Famer, just an absolute, terrific player for a number of years. Won 10 championships in 12 seasons with the Celtics. So, rest in peace, Sam Jones. Absolutely. All the best to the Jones family. Just a little bit of sad news to end the day here.
Yeah, not obviously unfortunate news, of course, to finish off 2021 with. We said this in 2020. Hopefully 2021 will be better because we entered into the pandemic and everything. And now here we are at the end of 2021 saying, hopefully 2022, will be better. Times have been tough. But actually, there's one final thing here. Becky Hammon.
Yeah, let's leave it on a good note.
Yeah, let's leave it on that. Keith, it's a good note, but I'm also a little bit disappointed. I really thought she was going to become the first female head coach in the NBA, and now she'll be with the Las Vegas Aces in the WNBA for the next 5 years, which, I mean, she's the highest paid coach in WNBA history. So that's a huge accomplishment in and of itself, and I don't want to take anything away from that. But I also thought, okay, she's going to be the one to break through and be the first female head coach in the NBA.
Yeah, I'm of two minds, because one is first head coaching opportunity, absolutely amazing. Congrats to Becky Hammon for that. The second thing is, if she is happy and wants to be in the WNBA, more power to 100%. To Becky Hammon. Yes. Super thrilled for her to get this opportunity. And you know what? If her goal is to eventually still be an NBA head coach, I hope she gets that opportunity too. I want nothing but the best. I very truly believe this. I'm not coming in white knighting and all the other stupid stuff people say on social media about the way people feel. I want the best people to have the jobs in the league. I don't care if it's a male, female, man, woman, I almost said child. That's probably going a little too far. But I don't care, coach, run teams or whatever. We're less than, my guess is, 5 years away from a female head coach, as well as a woman running an entire front office. We've seen it now in Major League Baseball. We're going to see it in the NBA sooner rather than later.
Yeah. Yep. Agreed. And so who knows? I mean, look, it may still be in the cards for her to wind up being an NBA head coach. For the time being, though, obviously joins the Las Vegas Aces. Best of luck to her there, and that is a big get for that franchise as well.
And she is going to finish out the year with the San Antonio Spurs, and then she'll join the Aces when their season starts, because the WNBA starts up right after the NBA. I think it's after the NBA playoffs complete, but it's after the NBA regular season at the very least.
Right. All right. Well, everybody, that puts a bow on 2021. We would appreciate it if you would subscribe to our YouTube channel, turn on notifications as well. And if
we're almost at 13,000,
we're right there.
So close.
We're right there. Right there. So do us a favor, hit that subscribe button. And if you're listening to the podcast version of this, follow us over on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever it is that you listen to podcasts. Everybody, Happy New Year. We'll be back on Monday with a new episode. Till then, see ya and stay safe.